Hello, Allison.
Hello.
All right. Well, thanks for watching, folks at home. I'm Erica Thomas, the Chair of Political Action for PSUFA, and
I'm Allison Lutz, PSUFA member, adjunct in the School of Art and Design, and bargaining team member from this year's economic reopener.
great. So we're going to have a quick conversation just to help folks understand what went down in the bargaining and what our wins were on this contract, so that you all can understand the tentative agreement that we have, and then make your decision about voting. So why don't we spend a little time just like quickly going over some of the most the summary of the biggest wins.
Sure. So I think the headlines for our wins are that we received a 10% cost of living adjustment in the first year of the remaining 2 years of our contract. So our contract expires in 2 years, at which point we will renegotiate the entire contract. But this academic year, we received a 10% cost of living adjustment to our minimum rate, which is huge. It is more than any other unit on campus has received for a cost of living adjustment.
Huge, yeah. And so what's the total raise? I'm just going to ask questions as a member. So what's the total raise that I will get in my fall 2023 paychecks?
So it depends on if you're at the minimum rate or not. The vast majority of our members are receiving pay at the minimum per credit rate. And so you will see an increase of $35 plus 10% in that in year one. And then in year two, you will see a $45 increase and then an adjustment for inflation based on that sort of varies between 1.75 and 3.5. And the actual numbers are year one effective fall term. So right now you will get retro pay for this increase. Your minimum will go up to $1,271 per credit. Mm-hmm. And then in year two, it will vary. It will be somewhere, depending on inflation rates, between $1,339, $1,362. And so over the 2 years, that equates to, including cost of living adjustment, a 20% raise.
Great. So a 20%, not 21?
21 if you want to be specific about it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's what we've been telling people. I just wanted to make sure that we were clear. Okay, great. So a total of 21%, which includes the cost of living adjustment, to be clear.
That's right.
And that's for people making the minimum per credit pay, which is the vast majority of you.
Yes. And those of you who are making above the minimum rate, you will also see that 10% cost of living adjustment, regardless of where you are on the in your pay rate. And then for those of you who might be slightly above the minimum rate, if the minimum rate goes above where you are, you will then be moved to that new higher rate.
Great. Okay, I think that's the thing that I hear most people are wanting to talk about pay raises, because that's the headline. So what are some other things that we won in this contract negotiation?
An important thing that we won was course development funding, which is huge for us as workers who are expected to perform unpaid work specifically in preparation of classes. So the sort of short summary of what we won was up to $500 that will be pre-approved by your department chair to either create a course for another faculty member to teach, or for a course that has never been offered before, or for a course that requires a major rehaul, so up to 50% or 50% or more change in the course. So that could be that you're shifting from maybe a more traditional style of teaching to an innovative new style of teaching within the course, and the department chair asks you to revamp the course, that you will be the contract includes language that will allow you to request funding for that work up to $500.
And that so members will request from their department if they see it looks like my my course on contemporary Middle East politics, using Vasiliki's example, needs to be overhauled because the materials are outdated and things have changed. So in that case, if you revised a course heavily, then you would tell your department this course needs heavy revision in order to be up to date, and you would request the course development fee, which has been now funded by administration.
That's right. Yes. So it's now coming from, let me just double check this, but it is my understanding that the funding is coming from, the university rather than from the department, which incentivizes the department to fund this work.
Exactly. Okay, great. So in any of these cases, we're trying to make this video concise. So I'm gonna rattle off questions to Allison. But if you are watching and you're like, I have more questions about this, don't worry, we're available. The folks who have more intimate knowledge of the new contract are available to answer more nuanced questions or specific to you. So don't hesitate to reach out, but we're gonna kind of push through some of the highlights that apply to most people. So
and I will say that all members will receive the language, all of the language of the tentative agreement. So you will be able to go through line by line and check, and then you can reach out if you have more questions.
Right, exactly. So please do read the language in the tentative agreement, which everyone, every member should vote on. So what some other things that were won, I understand that there are new funds in the in addition to other pools of what we call benefits funds. So things like funding for technology, if an adjunct needs a new camera to teach their class, or if they need a new computer to teach their class, for example, or something specialist for language education or something like that, you can apply and receive funding. So many of our benefits funds, the professional development, the tech fund, and the Adjunct Faculty Assistance Fund, which is just sort of emergency funding for adjuncts who are having financial hardship. This includes a new fund, which we're really excited about. What is that?
Yes, so in addition to, for the Adjunct Financial Assistance Fund is the new name for it. It still has the same acronym, AF, affectionately. And this has been in the past our most utilized fund for our members for financial emergencies, and it has been expanded to include caregiving as a request category. And again, this is for caregiving duties that may interfere with your work at PSU. You can apply to receive funding to help pay for that, and there has been a small increase in the funds for our financial assistance fund, which is always depleted every year. And so we're happy that now people who have caregiving duties can apply for funding, and also that we have some more money to go around.
Right. So for example, childcare, if you have an urgent need for childcare in order to go teach your class, that's an example that would be probably widely used by folks. And what was the fund before and what is it now?
The fund before was 300,000 and now it's 325,000. And it is my understanding that some of the funding can be, if there is leftover funds from professional development or technology fund, that those funds will then can be used for the financial assistance fund as well.
Great. Okay. And then moving on to other kinds of benefits, more of the kind of conventional benefits. We have never seen at PSUFA any the conventional kinds of benefits that you would get if you had a full-time position, faculty position. So a win that we have gotten is that there is now a retirement contribution paid for by PSU. That only applies to some adjuncts depending on the number of credit hours that you teach per year. Can you tell us who qualifies to get this 6% retirement contribution?
Sure. So that you're right that the retirement, the 6% retirement is only for eligible faculty. And so that is faculty who are PERS eligible, which I believe that the threshold is 600 hours per year at all any state public institution of higher ed, or even outside of higher ed. So if you work for the city of Portland or the state of Oregon, all of those hours add together to determine your PERS eligibility, your retirement eligibility. And so what
hours that is? Like if it was only teaching, how many credit hours would that be?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
I know for myself, I've calculated it so that it is approximately 6 4-credit courses a year for myself.
Okay.
But again, I don't know.
So if you're PERS eligible, what I will also say is, I know that does apply to me, and I think I teach 18 credits per year. I think that the threshold is around 16 to 18 credits, depending on how many hours are calculated for your class. So some classes that are 3 credit hours have less teaching or more teaching hours. So this is why it's a little bit hard to answer in that gray area. So if you're not sure, don't worry. When you become PERS eligible, you will get an email from HR. So you don't actually have to do anything. You should be notified when you become PERS eligible. You will be notified if it is through PSU. If it's through a combination, I'm not totally sure how. I think if it's from a combination of like teaching at, say, PCC and PSU, for example, then I think that you would need to be a little more proactive probably. So if you're not sure if this applies to you, please don't hesitate to reach out to us and or Human Resources at PSU, because that's their responsibility to help you figure this out. So, but yeah, I think the threshold is around 16 to 18 credit hours, depending on how those are calculated as hourly.
And it keeps adjusting to, this is some of what we're working on at the legislative level with our parent unions, is lowering those thresholds for eligibility for benefits like retirement, like health insurance, that these are just common sense benefits that should be available to public employees. And so we're working to lower those thresholds on an ongoing basis. But in this contract, if you are PERS eligible, retirement eligible, it doesn't matter if you're in the PERS system or if you are in the what is called the ORP, the optional retirement plan. It doesn't matter which you're in. Portland State will pick up, so they will pay on your behalf the 6% employee contribution. So PERS is a 2-part thing, or retirement is a 2-part thing where your employer pays some and you pay some. And in a lot of places in Oregon, public employers, the employer will pick up the employee portion. And we were able to negotiate that for our PSUFA members. And so even if you're in the optional retirement program, they will also pick up your contribution. And the details are in the contract language.
Right. Okay, great. So again, please read the contract language, and then please also, after you read the contract language, if you still have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Let's go through a couple others. I think just to sort of put a point on that, the last bit, I think getting a retirement contribution from PSU is a precedent setting and really incredible step forward. And also we are acutely aware that healthcare was not included in this, and that is something that we are fiercely ready to fight for, and encourage you to join in that fight during our full contract negotiations in 2025. So that said, let's talk about a couple other things. The length of service bonus and the release time are the last two sort of high points I want to make sure we hit.
Great. So length of service bonus is something that has been hard fought for at least a few rounds of negotiations, and it's something that I think is going to be the big ticket item on our full contract negotiations in 2025. And what we managed to get was not what we wanted, but you don't get everything you want in these contracts. No union ever does. But what we got was something that we can build on. And it's a one-time payment for adjuncts who have taught at Portland State for at least 6 years. This payment will come next year, so academic year 2024-25, and it will include that academic year. And to be eligible to have a year count, you only need to teach one class in any of the terms that we have indicated: fall, winter, or spring. Now, if you're one of the few faculty who teach summer terms only, don't despair, because you could be an exception and you just need to reach out to PSUFA Executive Council to help get that payment. But in the language in the contract, it says fall, spring, summer. So you just need to teach one class in any of those terms for a year to count. And then it is 6 years or more for you to be eligible for this one-time payment of $850. And that payment will come winter 25. And if you teach in the spring of 25, and that is your 6th year, you will then get paid in the spring of 25. So payments will start winter 25 and finish spring 25.
Okay, and so in order to receive this one-time payment, it's $850, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so to receive this one-time payment of $850, or actually one-time payment asterisk, is that language clarified to be an ongoing or not an ongoing?
This is not an ongoing payment. This is a one-time length of service payment and this is part of why the fight is going to continue in 2025, because we strongly believe that length of service payments need to be ongoing. They cannot just be one time.
Well, in addition to, yes, and in addition to that, having length of service be something that increases our pay as we move along. This is like among the big sort of takeaways from this bargaining session, that we want to carry that energy and that fight into 2025 full contract negotiation. So in order to get that one-time payment of $850, then you have to have started teaching the school year of 2018-19 in order to receive that, or earlier.
Yeah, that sounds maybe right. Maybe it's 2019, since it's next year, and next year counts too. And these terms do not need to be consecutive. Right. So if you started teaching in 1995 and then you took a break until 2018 and have been teaching steadily since then, you would still be able to receive this payment. So, and again, it's only one term or one class in the whole academic year. Right. Qualify for this. But yeah, something like that. If you've been teaching continuously since 2018 or 2019, I'll take your word for it on the calculation.
Great. Okay. So, and then finally, the contract release time. So I think like a lot of these wins are exciting to me personally, because they are precedent setting. We have fought really hard, and in previous negotiations not been successful at getting the administration to budge on things like service, length of service payments, or acknowledgement, like, financial acknowledgement of the length of service. So I think just like breaking a crack in that kind of foundation sets us up to widen that next time and like make further gains. So another thing like that is this contract release time, which I think is one of our, it's a trickier sort of thing to describe to people who haven't been part of bargaining. So let's talk briefly about what contract release time is.
Well, I think maybe contract release time might not be the best way to put it, because it's not a release from a course to participate as a member of the bargaining team, but it is compensation for the work that it takes to be a bargaining team member. So what was won in this tentative agreement was that the payment will be doubled. So bargaining team members will be eligible to receive 4 credits per term of payment. So going back to that minimum rate, right now, bargaining team members are paid at a 2 credit rate per term. And so we've doubled it, and that is eligible for up to 4 terms. So an entire calendar year if needed for negotiations. And just to let people know, we've been in bargaining at the table since March. So it's not a short process. And we actually convened and started working on this back in December of 2022. So it's been a lot of work for our bargaining team members. And this is a really big win to help those members be able to dedicate the time that is needed to this important work.
And Allison, how many hours per week do you think you spend on average on this project?
I definitely the time it takes to teach a class, for sure.
Right. Yeah. So this is huge, because it means, as all of us know, who are juggling the various parts of our lives, working other jobs besides adjunct work, doing freelance businesses, and doing lots of different gig jobs, or having a full-time job, in order to take time away from our lives, childcare and family obligations and all these different things. This really does give us a boost that is desperately needed in order to attract people to the bargaining table. So I think it's going to be a huge benefit to us in 2025 when we do go back to the table, because it's challenging to carve out 10 hours a week or however much time. I'm just guessing, but I'm sure that you all sometimes spent more than that in certain weeks and maybe less in others, but it's a huge amount of work. And so just to take a moment to congratulate the bargaining team for these massive successes that we all also contributed to, all the members who showed up to bargaining sessions and put eyes, on the bargaining team and the administration, and showed up with signs, and showed up on campus to picket, and do, attend rallies. Everybody who contributed to talking to their colleagues and talking to their students about the bargaining session and what we were trying to achieve. All of these wins are because of all the participation of all of us, of members. So
yeah, and something that is important, I think, to say is you're right to just kind of echo what you were saying. Bargaining, it happens at the table, but I often hear people say bargaining happens outside of the room. And so it is our members, and it is the pressure that we put on PSU through the contract negotiations from outside the room to really move the needle. And that's exactly what happened here. PSU told us that they had a specific budget that they could give us, and deny and said that they couldn't move for such a long time. And as our campaign escalated, their tune changed, and all of a sudden they found more money for us to be able to reach a tentative agreement. So it's not the fancy footwork of the people at the table necessarily. It's the people outside the room who are doing the real work.
Well, it's all of us, and
right.
And it's not an accident. This is due to organizing and pressure and all of our contributions to that. So Thanks for watching. Please reach out if you have any questions. Presumably you might be watching this because you were linked in an email. So there's information in, there's a document that's being circulated in your email right now that you can find the language to the tentative agreement and a bulleted highlight list. But please reach out. You can reach out to me, psufa.erica, ERICA, @gmail.com. If you have any questions, and if I can't answer them, I will find out who can. So thank you all, and don't forget to vote on the TA.